friends. So welcome back to DVC Inc. Live. We have a special announcement today. We have a book birthday, so we're super excited about that. We have some special guests on the show to celebrate with us, but we would love to just tell you a little bit about our new release today, Control Alt Achieve. We have the author on here, and then we have Jen, and I'll introduce them in just a moment. But as you are coming on, if you could just introduce yourself, say who you are, where you're from, why you're excited about this new release, and we will get busy sharing with you a little bit about this book and what you can expect from this book. So we do have the author on here today. Eric, we are so excited to welcome you to the DVC family, to have your book out. It is doing outstanding already. So Eric, do tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and why you decided to write Control Alt Achieve.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much. I cannot thank DVC enough for everything you guys have done every step along the way to make this such a fantastic journey. So hi, my name is Eric Curts. I'm from Northeast Ohio. I'm finishing up my 28th year in education. I was a middle school math teacher for 7 years and then switched over to a role as like a tech coach. And so went from teaching kids to teaching teachers and been doing that ever since. I work at a regional service center up in Northeast Ohio, serving about 20-ish to 30-ish school districts, depending on how you count them, about 30-ish probably. And they're all Google schools as well. And so a big focus of my day-to-day job is to provide support for the schools in the use of the Google tools, which kind of leads to what we're talking about here as to where did this come from? Where did Control Alt Achieve come from? And so really the idea behind all of this is that over the years of being a tech coach and supporting schools for the last 21 years, a lot of times we have tight budgets. A lot of times, we need to make the most out of what we have. And so a big focus of my career has been helping people to use the tools we already have in creative ways to say, oh, hey, sure, Google Docs is a word processor, but it's also great for creating blackout poetry and choose your own adventure stories and emoji, learning stories and things like that. There's so many creative ways we can do a twist on these. And so that's what I started doing over these many years, was finding ways to use the tools we already had for creative, engaging student activities. And so eventually I started a blog, Control Alt Achieve, to host all of those posts, to share those sort of resources and activities. And I picked Control Alt Achieve as a name because it was sort of the play on words of, Control Alt Delete to reboot our computer. Well, this is to reboot our classrooms, to take what we've been doing and recharge and reboot and start over with our classrooms to do exciting, engaging things. And as the years went on and those resources collected, finally came to a point where we said, hey, it would be awesome. Why don't we put these in a book? Why don't we put this together in a place, because there's something about holding that in your hand and being able to refer back to it. And so that's what the book is. It's just dozens and dozens of creative, practical student activities that you can use with the kids tomorrow, whether it's face-to-face instruction, whether it's now during our remote learning situation, whatever the case might be, to use the tools we already have. Doc sheets, slides, drawings in creative, fun ways to get kids using it and showing what they've learned, K through 12.
Awesome. We are so excited. I love it that it's just so informative, but it's simple to use and to understand. And I love your idea of rebooting the classroom, because we all know Control Alt Delete, like we've all done it. Everything's frozen up on our computer. There's 1,000 apps open, and there's no other way to get out of it than Control Alt Delete. So Control Alt Achieve, sometimes I think we need that. Like we have 1,000 things going, none of it's really going well, but everything's going. And we just kind of need to reboot, try something new, try something different, narrow in on just a few things that will work for the needs of our learners. So love it, so excited. So we have a guest on here. We have a guest on here today, and we're super excited to hear from her. So Jen, please do introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and then tell us what you thought about Control Alt Achieve when you read it for the first time. Jen, all right, of actually getting to read this book a little early, so she can speak to it for anybody who's thinking thinking about ordering it or not sure if this is the book for you, then Jen is going to share with us a little bit about what that book did for her when she first read it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tara. Thanks for that. Yeah, my thing is, if you're wondering if you need this book, the answer is yes. Yes, get this book. So my name is Jen Giffen. I am a teacher librarian in York Region District School Board, which is just about 20 miles north of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So I'm coming to you from above the border, the neighbors upstairs, if you will. I'm a former digital literacy consultant with my district. My district's about 140,000 students, over 10,000 teachers. I think we might be up to around 12,000 now. So it's a really big district. Before that, I was a high school English teacher and math teacher in special ed. So I've done sort of different things in almost 20 years I've been teaching. And I had the privilege in 2007 at ISTE to meet Eric in real life. And I'd been following his work for some time and had a massive fangirl moment when we met, like massive, like ended up on the floor in the fetal position because like he recognized my Twitter handle. And I was like, I thought I'd won life that day. And then I got to know Eric as a friend, and he's now, as we call each other, he's my bestie, my best friend at ISTE. And I've just always gleaned a lot from everything he's put out. I adore his blog, not only the way, like the ELA teacher in me loves the way that he writes, like he's almost poetic in the way that it's not just, here's what you need to know. Like there's some narrative to it. There's some storytelling, which I love. And his ideas are really outside the box. And when I was a digital literacy consultant and now in my role as teacher librarian, when teachers come to me and ask, okay, I need a resource for this, and we're a Google district as well, I'm like, where should I go? And I said, well, do you follow Eric Curts, Control-Alt-Achieve? Do you subscribe to his blog? Like, do you get those in? They're like, no, and I tell them, and I talk to people afterwards and like, that blog like changed my life. And I'm like, that might seem like a little bit of a hyperbole, but I'm like, I know. And like, just everything is good there. It's the way it's organized and everything. And so then when Eric sort of told me that he was thinking about writing a book and he was looking, I was like, oh, this would be absolutely perfect for so many teachers. And that's when he asked me if I would do sort of the early reading, I said, of course, I would love to do this. And it really is just chocked full of things you can do, whether you are day one at Google or whether you're like me and you've been Googling forever and ever, there's something that you can take. And what I love too is it's not just about the Google tools. I've shared this with friends who are in Microsoft districts, for example, or Apple districts, and they're like, oh, I could do that in Keynote, or, oh, I could do that same thing in Word. So while it's, we talk about him being very googly and everything's in Google, it's really about what you can do with the tool, not the tool itself. And that alone, the creativity that you can get to, and especially I would say in times like these where we're looking to be creative and not necessarily in front of our students, right? But how many school districts are actually back right now? How many aren't returning until the fall? Like we just found out here in my district yesterday that we're not going back until September. So these are the kind of things that we can do apart from our students and let them feel like they're learning, but they're also engaging in some really fun activities that are going to like give some depth to what they're doing maybe at home alone. And then they'll have the skills for the computers when they arrive back in our classrooms when we get to that point. So I love it. I think it's a fabulous read.
Awesome. Well, I mean, we can't ask for a better endorsement than that. I don't know how to follow that.
I know. Oh my goodness.
Okay, and we're done. Thanks, everybody.
Wow.
And
It's heartfelt. It's easy to give praise like that when you have a book it's that rich in content and ideas. I love it, Eric, and you know that. I think I was invited here because I'm Eric's #1 fan. I sort of thought I might get a T-shirt that said that as part of this gig. But
I don't have fans. I have friends.
There we go.
Well, I will say, I love that you, and first of all, I'm sure Eric has lots of things to say about that incredible endorsement, but I also love that you started following his blog. First of all, I met you at ISTE. Remember that? We did our first ever, well, I did my first ever presentation at ISTE as an Ignite, which is great.
Yeah, we did. The same year in 2007. Yeah.
Yes.
Or 2017, sorry, not 7.
2017, yeah. We were so nervous. I remember that. And but I love that you started with following his blog. And so I think a lot of writers out there, if you're just listening, and I know this is a book birthday, but if you're listening and you're like, oh, I want to write a book, a lot of times it starts with writing, getting really content, really good content out there on your blog, and getting people like Jen to follow that blog and to implement some of that content. And that's how you're really able to filter through like what is content that's resonating with readers, and then decide if you want this to be permanently out there in print. And I think that's what Jen's saying here. Like, I've been following his blog forever, and a lot of people over here have said Control Alt Achieve is one of my favorite resources. I always go there to that blog. Well, what happens, and I would love for Eric to talk about this, but I think what happens is the author starts to realize, wow, some of these things are really resonating across the board. People all over the world, no matter their content areas, really understanding and getting something out of this piece. Maybe this piece could later be in the book. And I think that's kind of one of the things Dave and I have talked about on here, actually, is that's kind of the first thing you do, is kind of go through and look at all your posts and see like what were some of the things that really resonated with people, and could that be in the book, and arranged in such a way that it would actually help people for no matter how long this book lasts. Like, it's timeless. It'll always be there. It'll always be beneficial. So Eric, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. I mean, lots of people, there's several people, Melissa in here, I think, I know that, of course, Jen just said it, but there was Holly. There were several people in here that mentioned they follow your blog. They've gotten a lot of content out on your blog. Did you find that to be true? That it was easy to kind of repurpose some of those things that were really resonating with the people and put those into your book? And why did you decide, what pieces maybe were some of those things that you decided to put in there? That's a really terrible question.
No, it's fantastic. And I really appreciate that, because that is how it worked. I mean, as an educator, I think all of us in here come from the mindset of share what works, share your ideas, don't hide them behind something, put them out there, give them to the world. And so anytime I would come up with a neat idea, or again, I'm learning from other people, I'm seeing something they've shared with me, and I go, oh, here's a neat way to put a twist on that. And then people will take things I share and they'll put a twist on it. That's wonderful. Please do that. We're all about just sharing and working from what we've learned from others. And so as I would do that over the years on the blog, yes, many things got, such good feedback from people. For example, using Google Slides to do a non-linear slideshow for creating like a Jeopardy game, or a choose your own adventure story, or a self-creating quiz where the slideshow doesn't go in order, but it branches. Something as simple like that, sharing, just got, so many people so excited about that. Or when I did the famous Build a Snowman activity, in Google Slides, which was introducing, hey, a slide doesn't have to be a presentation. It can be a manipulative drag and drop activity. And that can be any grade level, doesn't have to be the Build a Snowman. But that was the one that kind of introduced people to that idea of, hey, here's a different way to use that tool. And that's, again, the whole idea behind this is it's a tool, but let's look at it sideways and see what else can we, because that's what educators do all the time. We always take things and find, how can we use this in a way it was never intended for originally, because we're going to, to try to make the most out of it. And so what I did when it came to the book was try to figure out, well, what do we pick? What is, the starting point here? And so I decided to stay with the core Google tools of docs, sheets, slides, and drawings, stuck with those 4, and went through all of the blog posts I had ever done on those to look at which of the activities were ones that were very practical, that people could just use, and also, like you said, would be evergreen, things that you could use forever, that even if the menus change and they're going to, and things are going to be in different places, or if you use the Microsoft suite rather than G Suite, it's okay, because what we're talking about is using a word processor, a presentation tool, a spreadsheet, a diagramming tool, and how can we use them in creative ways. And so I tried to find, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, different projects from each of those tools, and start putting those together and figuring out, okay, which ones are rising to the top, which ones are the most valuable that people can use, K through 12, different subject areas, and so forth. And so that became the heart of the book, those 4 main sections. And then periodically, I would also write things that were a little bit more pedagogical type of things. And so I did have some of those things I'd worked on over time as well. And we kind of put those in throughout the book, as well as little sections to reboot you. So we have rebooting docs, sheets, slides, and drawings. Then we have sections on rebooting you, things to encourage you as a teacher and help you rethink things and take a new perspective on how to use educational technology in your classroom. And over time, that is what became the book that we have now.
Awesome. So Jen, did you find his explanation to be what you saw when you read that book for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was reading it, the rebooting you was something that was so novel to me. And some people might know that Eric does have a side blog of Eric the Rad, where he talks a lot about mental wellness and just his own like journeys through life. And I love reading that one as well, knowing Eric as a friend. And I saw that blog and the ideas in there marry so nicely into this idea of technology. And I think we're so quick to get on technology that sometimes as teachers we give so much and you can't pour from an empty cup, right? Mm-hmm. Or like the empty vessel. And I had moments of pause in those where I actually like was highlighting in this book. I'm like, okay, this is just the manuscript. It's fine. I'm going to get the actual book one day and be able to highlight. But there were so many things that I found so inspirational in that did think, wow, this is really good. Because we get caught up, right? We're like, oh, I want to try this and I want to try that. And then we're overwhelmed. And that it did remind us, even in that moment of excitement when we're reading, to pause and remember ourselves and to be well and to do things that are good for us while we're serving the students or the educators that we're serving. And it was a nice little surprise, something that I'd never seen on the blog. So I know a lot of people say, oh, well, there's a blog, why would I go buy the book? It was those little things in there that I really loved. And really too, like Eric sort of touched on it, but he does think really outside of the box and look at things. I think he said, you look at things sideways. But there's so many times I'm like, how didn't I think of that? Of course you should do this here. Like, and his ability to look not only sideways, but diagonally and up from the bottom, and, with the drone flying over of the tools, like every way that you can examine these tools, he's looked at, and they can all be adapted. Like you can read it from the lens of, like, I have children in the 2nd grade and I'm a high school teacher and I've taught, 12th grade English, and I can look at the same activity in there. And not only is it evergreen, but it's also, it's sort of, I don't know, it's constantly evolving with the age of the learner. So I can look at it and say, yeah, I could do this with a 4th grade class, but I could also do it with a 10th grade class with a little bit of a twist. And I think that really speaks to why we need this sort of like inspiration in the books that we have on our professional bookshelves, right? To keep us going, to make us feel evergreen.
That's the beauty of a good book to me. And I know that DVC definitely stands behind that. And one of the things that we say on these shows all the time is, and of course I love DVC because I work for them, but I love them anyway. But it's going to sound like I'm super biased. But one of the things I love about our books is, yes, while this is a tech book, and like Jen just said, you could use it in so many ways. Like you can find the how-to, you also get this motivation. But I love the piece where she talked about Eric's personal piece and how it's his personal inspiration within the book. And this is something that's really key about our book specifically, is that no ed tech person could just slap their name on the front of this book. And if it were just simply a how-to book, any ed tech guru could probably slap their name on the front of this book and say it was by them. But because of those personal pieces, because of those inspirational pieces that are slid in to make it a more comfortable read for one, but also make it more personal and more exciting to bring it to your classroom to help reboot and achieve in your classroom. Eric has his own spin in there, but he also leaves it super open for you to put your own spin on there and to be able to connect and relate to him in different ways, personally and professionally. And I really, really appreciate that about all the DVC books, but I appreciate that about your book specifically too, Eric, and your blog too. Being able to see the whole person. I'm all about the realness.
Absolutely.
The whole person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes I think I have a little bit of a strange sense of humor, but that's okay. You're just going to put it out there, and I think that's important. It helps us connect with others, to be real, to be authentic, to be vulnerable, and to share our excitement and inspiration. And hopefully that'll be contagious, and people will take it and they'll do their own thing with it. If you, like I said, if you are new to Google Tools and you want to be able to just go step by step and follow through these directions and get started, that's wonderful. But for those of you that have been doing this for a while and you're going to take these things and you're going to iterate and create something new from it, please do. Sometimes I get questions, people email and say, is it okay if I modify this? Is it okay if I use this? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. It's always yes. Take the things I share and build upon them and do creative things with them. All I ask is, please let me know what your kids made when it was done. I'd love to see. And that's something I'm so looking forward to with this book, is over the coming months and years, I am so excited to see people share what their kids did. Because sometimes, talk about being authentic, talk about being whatever. We have rough days. There are days where you come home and you just feel like, have I been banging my head against a wall? Have I accomplished nothing? And I swear to you, in all honesty, I'll get an email, I'll get a tweet, I'll get somebody who said, here's something our kids did today. Thanks, Eric Curts, for this template. And there's these kids with smiling faces of some project they created today because they used the pixel art template, or they used the choose your own adventure thing, or they used the motivational posters one, or they used the creating the memes one, or whatever it was. And I know a child went home today excited because when, somebody at home says, oh, what'd you do at school today? It wasn't just, oh, nothing, whatever. I got to make this thing. I got to create this thing. And it's just so amazing to think that sitting here in my house, in my office here, that some idea I had one day has now affected tens, hundreds, thousands of children and has inspired them. And they've been able to do something creative and learn. That is amazing. So I'm so looking forward to seeing what comes from this and the things, how this impacts student learning.
And we are too. And that's what we love about you, Eric. I think this is what Jen was saying too. Like, your heart is so pure and your ideas are put out there because you want students to be engaged, be excited about learning, and have this new tool and a way to use this. It's sometimes not a new tool. Like, these are tools that have been around for a long time, but it's new ways to use the tool that keeps it engaging, that keeps it invigorating, that keeps them coming back for more and wanting to, as Dave Burgess says in Teach Like a Pirate, run to get in the class instead of out of the class. And so I am just so grateful for Control Alt Achieve. We're so excited for you. Happy birthday. Happy book birthday. And for anyone over here in the comments that is interested in this book, we'll drop the link to the book right now over in the comments. If you haven't ordered it yet, you should really get on it. You're going to want it, but it's available in Kindle. It's also available in paperback. And Eric has made a cute little video, but you get the best of the best right here. But he has also made a small short video that you can review and just get an idea of like what is the book all about. Now, or you can watch this one, which is way better. Both of them are great. This one's more in detail, and you get to talk to the author. So one of the things that we know that districts a lot of times that are using these tools, you may be interested in bulk book ordering. I'll also put Wendy's email over there in the comments, but it's wendy@daveburgessconsulting.com. You email her, you can get the bulk book ordering prices for multiple books that you're trying to order for your teachers. But we are really, really excited about Control Alt Achieve. And Jen, thank you so much for sharing all of your wonderful tips. And if people want to find you, Jen, and they want to connect with you, I would love for you guys to share your Twitter handles or social media connections so other people can connect with you.
Yeah, sure. The easiest place to find me is I'm on both Twitter and Instagram as Virtual GIF, GIFF, 2 F's, hard G every time.
And you absolutely have to connect with Jen. She shares phenomenal things and is just an absolute inspiration. I'm not just saying that because she's my friend, but I admired her before I met her and admire her more all the time. So I cannot thank you enough, Jen, for everything. As far as connecting with me, basically just Eric Curts on all social media, ERICCURTS. So you can connect with me as Eric Curts on Twitter and Facebook and all the good places.
Fantastic. And I got that link over in the comments so you can connect with them. You can also check out the book. And we're just really, really excited about this book. We're so excited for you, Eric, joining the DBCing family. You're so welcome here and you are a perfect fit. So thanks everyone for joining. Happy book birthday to Eric. And if you get the book and you find some cool things in there that you're doing with your students, please do share out, tag all of us. we'd love to see what you're doing and how you've taken this and applied it into your learning settings. So thanks, everyone. Happy book birthday, Eric.
Way to go, Eric.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.